Hi everybody, happy Tuesday to everyone out there in YouTube land. This is Snackbox here. I am coming to you with a new video. I was talking with a couple of people in a Facebook group about the Colorado Trail through hike plans for the coming year, and I asked what people were most concerned about, what they were worried about, and universally there were two big themes that popped up. One was water availability and the other was resupply without hitches. So I'm going to create two separate videos that deal with each. This one is going to focus specifically on water, and then I'll make another one in the next couple of days and we'll talk a little bit about resupply. For now, let's talk water, let's talk a lot of it, and let's talk about places where there's not a lot of it, because that's probably what you're most concerned about. So let's get to it. This little guy, there's no magic. So when we're thinking about water, this is a big concern for a lot of people. There are a couple of spots, particularly early. There's segment 2 that has about a 10-mile stretch without any water. And then late, almost in the San Juans, or maybe even in the San Juans, there's about a 23-mile stretch without any consistent, reliable water. And there are a couple of spots that I want you to know about in the middle that have water, but it is often water where cows have been in the area. So you can treat it. It is safe to drink if you've treated it. But for many people, that's just that's a bridge too far. You're not going to drink water if cows are in the area. So I want to talk you through those different areas, but let's start with the most basic idea here. If you are just planning your through hike of the Colorado Trail, you have the best resource available to you right here with this guy. This is the Colorado Trail data book. They update this every year. It's from the Colorado Trail Foundation. I am not sponsored by them. It is a nonprofit organization. If they wanted to give me money, I would not accept their money, because they are the people who keep this trail up and running. They keep it neat and tidy. They keep it all in shape, and they keep you informed of all of the different pieces on the Colorado Trail. So I want to give you a look into the Colorado Trail data book. This book cost about $20 from the Colorado Trail Foundation, which I think is a steal. It is $20 well spent. It is a great investment, and you can use it year after year. Even though they update it every year, 99.9% of the information will be up to date, and you'll be able to sort out the rest on your own. I want to take you over to my computer screen, show you what pages of the data book look like. So if you're sort of waffling on the fence, I don't know if it's really worth the $20, I can let you know that it is absolutely worth it, and I can do so without revealing any information that the Colorado Trail Foundation doesn't already offer to you. So let's take a look here. So I search for the Colorado Trail Foundation. This is the website for the stewards of the Colorado Trail Foundation. So I'm going to take you over to the maps and guidebooks. I encourage you to check this out, kind of look around. And right here, you will find the Colorado Trail data book. There's a new one coming out. If you haven't bought one yet, wait until about April or May to go ahead and order yours. You'll have plenty of time. They're very good at shipping it out. And go ahead and order that later so that they can do all the updates and make sure that it's ready for you. The data book is, so here, about $20. We're going to click over here a couple of pages, and these are some of the symbols that you're going to see. We don't really need to talk a lot about that, except for right here, these two guys. This one is the one that you really want. This means the water is reliable. The lower the water in the glass, the less likely it is running. And so for those of you starting in early July, this is more likely to be running, and then the smaller ones are less likely to be running. This is always kind of in flux, but it's dependent on how much snow there is that year. So it's also a really good idea to get a sense of whether or not this year was a heavy or a light snow year, and you can wait to find that out later, or you can go to the Colorado Trail Foundation's Facebook page, and I believe it's Trail Tuesday. They will give you a sense of what the trail looks like. So if you're not on that Facebook page, by all means follow it. It's a great resource. Pay attention to the different types of water that you see here, because that will help you plan your days when you get up in the morning and help you decide whether or not you need to fill up your water bottles, or maybe you just fill up your belly with water and leave a little bit of water to get you to the next water source, which is more often than not going to be the case. This is an example of the pages. So each segment gets at least a page like this. This is what it looks like, and why I absolutely love the Colorado Trail data book. Notice here on the symbols, you have every single example of water. So this segment here, segment 10, as you're going through the Mount Massive Wilderness, working your way southbound from Leadville, this is just loaded with water. There's not a lot of need to carry a whole ton of water, and there are campsites, and you can also plan to pick up water here if you want to camp at the dry campsite. A dry campsite just means there's no water nearby. What I really want you to notice here, how the data book tells you within a tenth of the mile mile, how likely you are to find water in that segment, as well as campsites, other trail markers. And this is particularly useful because you can use these water sources as landmarks to help you gauge how much progress you're making each day without needing a GPS, for example. Absolutely recommend it. Go to the Colorado Trail Foundation, check out some of their gear. Just as a note, they also sell the buffs, the little buffs. They sell a Colorado Trail buff. I think it was $6 or $7, and I used it the whole trip. It's really great. I don't want to belabor the point. I know you all can read the data book, and when you get it, you'll understand exactly how it's so super helpful to really process all of the different segments with and without water and plan your trip. It's also really great for setting your mind at ease. If you think you're going to run out of water, you can be confident there will be water, or maybe you can plan ahead if you're not so confident that there's water. I want to talk about 4 different spots that you should be aware of, 2 that will be made well known through the Colorado Trail data book, and then 2 that are not so well known that have water issues related to them. So let's talk about the 2 that the Colorado Trail data book does indicate very clearly. The first is the 10-mile stretch through segment 2. I've talked about that already in the planning guide for segment 2. At the end of that, the fire station typically does have water, and you will start seeing water more frequently thereafter. The other place that you will run into a serious stretch without any major water is at the end of segment 26. You will come to the Straight Creek, and it is about 1.5 miles from the end of it, and that's the last reliable water for about 22 miles. And it just requires you carry a lot of water with you. My personal recommendation is to camp at that water. Try your best to camp at that water or very close to that water so you can use it for all of your needs that first night, and then you can camel up and carry it through the segment and maybe even to the next day if you're not able to do all 23 miles in one day. Let's talk about 2 stretches where you need to be aware of some other water issues that aren't so glaringly apparent. The first area that's not super apparent from the data book that you have a water issue in front of you is segment 18. So if you have your data book with you, go ahead and pull it out and take a look at it. There's a water source about 2 miles in, and then there are more water sources about 9 miles in, about 7 miles past. This is a pretty reasonable stretch to make in a few hours because it's not a lot of elevation gain. It's a pretty level hike. But when you get to the end of that 9 miles where the first water arrives, you can find some clean water, but this is where there's a lot of pasture land. You're going to see a lot of cows, and there are a lot of people who aren't comfortable drinking from water where cows have been walking around and splashing in the water. If that's something that's of a concern to you, camel up, try to make it to the end of the stretch, which is super doable. This is not a lot of elevation gain and descent. So I'll talk about that when I get to my segment 18 video. For right now, just know that the middle water there typically is present, but there are also cows present in that area. So depending on your comfort level. Lastly, I'll show a little clip here, and this is a really interesting spot. This is right as you leave Lake City. You'll hike and it will be a pretty chill day. You'll not have a whole lot of climbing. Come to this area by the Colorado Trail Yurt, or the Colorado Yurt, or Friends of the Colorado Trail. I don't know exactly the name of it, but you're going to see a yurt off to the right side. And when you get to past the yurt, you're going to kind of descend into this swampy area. And a lot of people try to find water in that swampy area. And it's all fine water. You can treat it and it will work just like any other water. But if you keep walking, you'll hit the forest. You can see it in the video. You'll see that little forest stretch. If you walk up into the forest about 150 to 200 yards, you will find a stream. You'll be able to hear it. You'll find a stream with a lot of flowing fresh water that is very easy to get so that you can treat it and you're not going to have a bunch of floaters in your water. If you camp in the forest, there's a really good campsite there in the forest. Then you can go get some fresh water. It doesn't have a lot of dirt and debris in it. So I hope these water tips helped you. I'll come back and we're going to talk a little bit about resupply points with a specific eye for resupply without needing to hitchhike. But for right now, I hope these water tips help set your mind at ease. And if you remember nothing of this video, just remember Colorado Trail Foundation data book. I am not sponsored. I just want you to see how useful this source is. Right before we leave, smash that like and subscribe button. And if you're a subscriber, by February 1st, I will have a drawing for this sweet vintage tent. It's not really a tent that you'd want to take on the Colorado Trail, but it is a tent that you might like for a little bit of glamping experience and some car camping somewhere, which is just as fun. I hope you'll join. I hope you'll comment and tell me your favorite things about the trail or your favorite things about planning for the trail. And I'll see you soon. Thanks, everybody. Data book, whatever it is, go ahead and buy it. It's going to do you some good biz.